How can you validate a SCADE model to show that it meets its textual requirements? With Stimulus, there are two options. First, generate the C code from the SCADE model. Using this code, Stimulus will generate test cases automatically and will use the requirements as observers. Alternatively, export the test scenarios as described in Stimulus into SSS format used by SCADE and export the requirements as C code for use as the observers. Let's illustrate the second approach. The first requirement is that an alarm should be generated if the difference between the required altitude and the actual one is greater than a preset value during a preset period. The second is identical but is for aircraft speed. A third requirement is to stop the plane crashing. It says that in stabilized flight the speed must not fall below the stall speed for more than 2 seconds. Let's start by describing a class of test cases. We set the required speed at 55 knots. The required altitude is fixed for 2 to 6 seconds and then changes. Let's launch Stimulus Simulator with a set of 1000 steps. You see a first profile for the required altitude. Let's reset and generate a second test case using the same constraints defined in Stimulus. We now ask Stimulus to save these test cases in an SSS file, scenario full stall altitude. Let's look at the SCADE model. It includes 3 blocks: the flight control unit, which will calculate the flight commands to be sent to the aircraft, an aircraft model which takes as input the required speed and altitude and returns the actual ones, an observer block that is the C code generated by Stimulus from the 3 requirements. It takes all the variables as inputs, and the 3 observers generate signals as to whether each requirement is met or not. What does the SSS test case generated by Stimulus look like? Let's open the file. It contains the input values of the SCADE model for each cycle. And now we launch the SCADE simulator. This application uses an interface generated by SCADE Display. We load the test scenario and start the simulation. In the center of the screen, we have added an interface that displays whether the 3 requirements are met or not. At first, the 3 lights are green. As the simulation runs, the 2 yellow warning lights are the alarms required by the first 2 requirements and turn on when the actual values differ too much from the required values. Suddenly, the 3rd requirement is violated and our requirements light turns red. The test case generated by Stimulus has revealed that the SCADE model does not meet its specification. In fact, you can visualize the design activity like this. Initially, the SCADE model is very incomplete and does not meet any of the requirements. As you complete the design, at each step Stimulus verifies that the requirements are being fulfilled. Finally, when the model is complete, Stimulus confirms that all the requirements are fulfilled, even after intensive simulations. As you have seen, Stimulus easily creates both test cases and test objectives. You can efficiently validate that your SCADE models meet their textual specifications.